Hey, Dr. Simmons here. Just want to give you some information on what I expect with discussion boards. Discussion boards are an integral part of what we do in our class. One of the things it does, it helps me to see if you're understanding the reading and the content of the course each week. Most courses I teach have a discussion board almost every week. Let me say a little bit about the discussion boards. First of all, you need to learn how to go in and create your own discussion board. I can give you some help on that later if you need it, but that should be something that you can do. Just go in and create it. Now, let me say the discussion boards should follow closely the content of the questions that I'm asking or proposing. It needs to follow that. It needs to be academically strong. It needs to have a good flow, a good English, good grammar, and a good academic foundation. Here's what I mean by that. First of all, I normally have an initial post and then response post. Every discussion board I have, except the class cafe or the prayer request, every discussion board I have requires responses whether I say it or not. Every discussion board I have has a minimum word requirement, and the responses normally have a minimum word requirement. So if I say your initial post should be 250 words, and you should have at least one response post of 100 words, if you do that, you've met the minimum requirements. Students should not expect an A, which is a sign of excellence, for doing the base minimum requirements. So if you go in there and you meet the minimum requirement, you have a discussion board initial post with 250 words, and you respond to one person with a 100-word response, that's not going to be an A, because that meets the minimum requirements. An A is given for exceptional work. That's what it's about, especially in graduate school. So just don't do just the minimum, do more. Community points are determined by how you work to create an online learning community. Exceeding the number of responses will help me to see that you're anxious to set up and establish a good learning community. Well, Siri went off on me. God, crazy. Anyway, so let me say, here's what I want on the initial post. It needs to follow very directly and very closely the subject matter I've given you. The second thing is, it needs to have at least one academic reference or support. At least one. Now, that academic support should come from probably the text or some similar academic readings. So it could be from journal articles, other books, could be from a video I had you to watch, but it does need at least one of those. That needs to be cited within the text, and then at the end of it, you need to have a formal bibliographical entry. Okay, if you do a Turabian, it needs to be in a Turabian form. If you do an APA, it needs to be in APA form. Okay, let's talk about your response posts. Your response posts are not attaboy, got a post. They are supposed to be critical, analytical, descriptive, positive, and affirming. They should also be academic. They do not necessarily have to have a foundation where you use a resource from the text, but they should be analytical. I should be able to read your post and tell whether you read what the person was saying, clearly understood it, and could respond appropriately. Now, make sure that when you start the post, you address the person's name, Thomas, comma. I appreciate your information that you gave about grief and understanding grief, period. I like the way you dealt with Kubler-Ross's book, in that you affirmed what she was saying, and so forth and so on. That's the kind of thing you need. Again, if you do the bare minimum, don't expect a good strong grade. And normally a bare minimum would be a good B. A's are for exceptional work. You will get what you earn. Okay? All right. That's how you do discussion boards. That's how I will grade them. Again, don't personalize it too much. In other words, talk about I and this that much. It's okay in discussion boards to say I appreciate what you said, but make sure that you give good, strong reasoning, logic, flow, and a sense of direction with how you respond to that, and that you respond courteously in a positive and friendly way. And again, when you address someone in a response post, the first thing you do is mention their name. Okay? Make it like is personal in that way, that you read what they've done. Anyway, thanks for listening. That's how I will be grading your discussion board.